What's going on, peoples? My name is Raymo Farrare. I'm the founder of Lost Kingz outreach program in Cambridge, Maryland, and Lost Kingz Clothing. I started Lost Kingz off with me and my brother that's no longer here, Aaron Tate, and from that we came together with a plan on how we can better the atmosphere and better the mind frames of the young men that's living with abandonment issues from not having their king in their lives, which is their fathers. So from that, we formulated a program which is called Lost Kingz to outreach to the young men that are hurting because they don't have their fathers in their lives.
Lost Kingz, if you look at today's, age and time frame, as the black man, we're pretty much lost. Because of the simple fact is that they're trying to, how can I put it, make us feminine. And when I say make us feminine, I mean you gotta look at all the movies where the men are cross-dressing or even locking us up in prisons to take us away from our kids. To where that the woman is raising us to be a man. They say a woman can't raise a man. Only a man can raise a man, which is true in a whole lot of aspects of life.
I feel like a lost king is a person who just doesn't know their history, who doesn't know how to be a man. And I was always taught and told, you're not a man until a man tells you you're a man. That's one of the biggest things. And a lot of these dudes, because of society and because they got to grow up fast, they feel like they men before they time.
I think Lost Kingz, well, a man that just is lost in life, I guess, has lost his way in life, I would say.
And not to bash.
And I'm not, yeah.
Not to bash them, because sometimes it's not their fault. Sometimes
it could be a generation.
It could be a generational curse. And I didn't make Lost Kingz to bash black men. I made it to uplift them and empower them to say, hey, you can't just leave because something don't go your way.
When I think of Lost Kingz, I think about looking at my own son. Me being a black African-American male, I grew up without a father in my life till about 13. And then, he came in my life for maybe a few years after that. But those vulnerable years were very important. So I look at my son as being in his life and covering those vulnerable moments. So as Lost Kingz, I think it's very important for a father to be in a child's life.
We gotta make learning beautiful again. Like Jermichael had made a post, this week. Smart gotta be cool. It's gotta be so cool to be smart, and everybody gotta strive for that intelligence. It takes us. You're either building or you're destroying. You know what I mean? And if you're not consciously building, you're subconsciously destroying. You know what I mean? So we got to get out of the subconscious destroy mode and get in the conscious build mode. But it starts with knowing who we are.
When I think about Lost Kingz, I think about the acronym, living outside of society's traditions. And I think the word tradition is kind of used to kind of like seal up the acronym, but it's not necessarily a tradition. It's more so of a what the products of single-parent households, what statistics say that they're going to be, and it's basically sending out a message to anybody that's in a situation like that, that you don't have to succumb to what society or what statistics would assume you'll become or get involved in. And I just think it's like a positive movement for any young person out there that might be, the product of a single-parent household, low-income family, or just a, bad environment, that they can elevate outside of those circumstances and achieve and, become a successful person, or, contribute to society in a positive way.
Lost Kingz means, to me, this brother that's out there that's lost, whether it be kids, fathers, someone in general, they need to be connected as a whole. That's basically it, but it's what we should have done a long time ago, bring each other together. Family members need to bring it together. The father's the head of the household. A whole lot of single mothers out there, they're not fathers, So why should we put him in a position? We knew what we were doing when we laid down. Two things happened. Catch something, make a baby. So you made a baby, take care of it. Be the king you're supposed to be.
I believe to be a man, when you don't have your king in your life, you have to look up to somebody. You have to look towards somebody to follow behind if you don't have that father that was there that gave you life. If you don't have that person there to guide you and make you a king, then you have to look for that. So when I was young, I had minds that I had to look up to, and his name was Randy Potter. And I looked to that man on different levels, and he pretty much was there for me throughout my teenage life. So then when I got a little bit older, I started looking up to different men with good hearts. And one of the men that I looked up to was Aaron Tate, and it was because of his good heart. Regardless of what he was doing in the street, regardless of what people said about him, his heart was good.
One of the biggest things in today's society is a kid saying that he a savage. You know, that's not the mentality. You often hear them say that I'm a king. You hear them say I'm a savage. And that's taught because the first thing they're taught in school about themselves is slavery. You know, and that's the first thing that comes to their minds is that's how they got to get it. They got to get out here and be a savage to make it happen. So that's my depiction of a lost king. A lost king is somebody who is truly lost, who doesn't know their true history.
My mission for Lost Kingz is to empower all young men, young black, white, any type of young man that grew up without their fathers, not having a relationship with their fathers, to give them some type of male role models to look up to and go on for job readiness, go on to college, go on to be entrepreneurs, whatever the case they want to get into, then showing them how to move like that. But getting past the fact that you have a lost king in your life is your father, you can grow up to be a better king to your kids. So giving them that knowledge to move forward and always move forward on whatever it is that you want to do in life, and you do not have to be a victim of your environment, and you don't have to be what society says that you have to be. You always live outside of what society says that you have to be.
We're pretty much lost out here. You know, that's why if all the good brothers come together as one, and we make that coal, turn that coal into a diamond, they can't stop us, man. They can't stop us. And the most dangerous thing in this world is an educated black man. They know that. They fear that. They don't want that. So that's why you got the man-made diseases. AIDS, man-made. Made in Fort Detrick, America. Man-made. Why? Population control. Our control. They want to try to control us. Crack cocaine, another one. Another epidemic, you know?
Lost Kingz, to me, I know it's a program, I know it's an organization, but it's bigger than that. It is a movement, but it's also a tool that could be utilized in schools and communities to help our young men that are lost and don't even realize that they're lost, where they can be themselves and not try to be like everybody else, but as it says, to live outside of society's traditions. So support the movement.
You got lost, basically is the anti of king in a sense. So when you got kings that are lost, you got kings that will do opposite of what they actually need to do, you know, and kings that need to control their situations, to take control over their families, over their communities, you know, ultimately over their nation, you know, and guide these people that are part of their families and their close loved ones and friends and families to better situations, to a better station in life. So when we're lost kings, means we definitely are not in the direction that we need to be. But we understand, you know, to be lost means to have once been going in a direction. You know, it could have been at a very young age, but, you know, very few of us come out the womb wanting to be destructive to our community. Usually conditions create that. You know, most children I've ever known, even as a child and witnessing children coming up, have a desire to be good and do good and be treated and rewarded for doing good and things of that nature. circumstances, environments, resources, things of that nature greatly affect how people respond now, and what type of emotions and what type of rewards and attention that they're given. Because economically, people just have to do what they got to do. You know, if you're a parent.
Lost Kingz means basically what everybody done said, man. It's we are a powerful nation. We're a powerful people. So it's just one of those concepts where it's African men who have been lost, who have succumbed to the different things in society that causes us to think differently and to destroy our people, to destroy ourselves, and to destroy our women and children. We have to be found again. You know, like you said before, it's in our DNA. We're all kings. And in order for us to find ourselves, we have to first clear our minds and reprogram ourselves. We have to read more. We have to study more. We have to build more. And we have to learn our history. I feel like if you don't know your history, you're really going to be lost. And that's one of the biggest components of it all, is we don't know our history. You know, a kid know more about rap music of today than they know about their ancestors. Or you know, you talk to a kid about the pyramids or ancient Egypt. You know, a lot of kids don't know Egypt is in Africa. You know, that's a concept that, you know, we can't just blame on the school system, because we don't teach it in our communities as well.
I mean, Lost Kingz, man, it appears to have a negative connotation on it, but it's really not, man. It's factual. It's reality. You know, we as black men, the conditions that we are in, the conditions that the state of the black people are in, we being the head, the king, we have fell by the wayside, and for some reason we fail to really get it together. And it starts with the mind. Get it together and rebuild the black family. You know, instill something in our children, even instill something into our women. You know, we as black men fail to do that. You know, and throughout history, the black man has always stood at the head, you know, sat at the head of the table. Now we don't even care about the table, period. You know, whether we at the head or not. You know, our table turned into a family table, into a single table, you know, a single man table, and we don't really step up and create that strong black family that once were. That's one of the biggest reasons we are in a lost state. We're a lost kings. We're kings who fail to take our crown, or if we feel we have the crown, we don't wear it correctly, you know. And knowing and understanding how to wear it correctly always starts with the state of your family or the state of your children.
We have an overwhelming amount of single mothers raising their children, and they're good at raising their daughters to be strong and independent, and even that complicates situations sometimes. You know, when these young sisters get in contact with a brother who might have his thing going on in the right direction. You know, there's a little aggression, there's a little, you know, a lot of little things that happen because of environment. But this same mother, she's raising a son as well. And she can't spend the attention that she needs to spend with him, because she's got to pay attention to the resources that she needs to make sure that he has food, clothing, shelter, health care, and defense. So it's important to understand the necessity that attention is paid to the children, but she can't. She knows the importance, but she can't because she's working. So a lot of times we led to the street, you know, and the street is when we get indoctrinated, or we start losing our way. We start losing our desire to be a king more than we want to become predators. We want to become gangsters, we want to become pimps, we want to become players, you know. We want to ball, we want to have money, you know what I'm saying? We want to, you know, just be the ones doing those things, and that's a lost state of mind.
A lost king is a person that, you know what I'm saying, submits himself to certain types of authority because he don't understand his authority. A lost king is one of these fathers out here that know you got sons and daughters out here, and you don't try to help them get further than where, you know what I'm saying, where you at or where you came from. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got a past, a present, and a future. You know what I'm saying? A lost king is a person that neglects all of that. You know?
I mean, I support the Lost Kingz because it has a meaning. It's not just some, you know what I mean, car shop, some barber shop, some bull, you know what I mean? It's actually trying to help the community, and that's the only thing that we lacking. If we had somebody to help us, then we wouldn't be in the situation we was in.
On the other side of Lost Kingz is living outside of society's tradition. So traditionally, that's for people that grew up without fathers, people that grew up in the hood, so to speak, people that grew up with not a good lifestyle. You don't have to be subject to what society says that you have to be because you're a young black male, you didn't have your father, you went to prison a couple times, you sell drugs. Like, you don't have to succumb to the acronym that you're supposed to be what society says you're supposed to be. So how did you fight off of what society says that you were supposed to be?
Well, first of all, I put God in my life. I allow God to come in my life and let Him guide me. So I do a lot of praying. That's number one. Do a lot of praying, a lot of reading of the Bible, and pretty much accepting what God is, accepting the role. Sometimes you don't want to, say if you have a kid, say if you have a family with 4 kids, sometimes you don't want to discipline the kids. Sometimes you don't want to provide for the kid. You want it to be about yourself sometimes, every now and again, but guess what? Your calling calls for you to be the head. So acceptance, that's the main thing. Accepting your role, get on your grind, do your reading, do your studying so you can pour back into your family. That's the main concept right there to me.
Okay. We good. That was easy, bro.
It wasn't easy for me. Lost Kingz is pretty much how the vision that you have. It's us as kings. It's first of all, we're lost because we not going on our true identity, which is to be a king, the head of our household. If you're not the head of your household, then you're lost. And you're not taking on that role and taking the responsibility of being the head of the household. If you're absent, if you're a man and you're absent, you're a lost king. You're a lost king.
Lost Kingz? Well, it's a person that don't recognize that he is a king. You know? You're still in the slave mentality. You know what I mean? That's it. Right there.
Me and my brother founded Lost Kingz. We sat down and we realized that young men that grew up without a father have a tendency to go to the left and get involved in the street life, gang life, selling narcotics. So we came together to try to put something together to show them the right way, even though you don't have a relationship with your father, the one that made you. We came together to put something together to give them positive male role models so they can look up to. However, I lost my best friend back in 2015. So I'm here steamrolling this thing by myself with help from some other brothers around me to put out my mission.
It has become generational, the things that's happened to us and the way that we've been thinking. So it's important that as kings who aren't lost, and who qualifies those for being lost and not being lost, we don't know, really. But I think you as a person should qualify yourself. And you know if you lost or not, you know if you living right, you know if you are asset or doing more for your community than you are doing against your community. You can make that determination. Nobody else can. So it's important that you do decide to make that determination and decide what you want to do. You want to continue being a lost king, or do you want to help find these kings? You know what I mean? We're going to be the lost king finder, and that's what it's all about. So this is like the Batman card, the Lost Kingz, like boom. You know, the objective is not for the kings to stay lost. The objective is to find them and for them to find themselves.
and then we can start moving in a progressive direction. And that's what it's all about.
Kids are like sponges, man. They tend to pick up on what they see and things in their environment. So to add to that, I think that they should, you should instill values in your children. So first of all, they can respect themselves. If they respect themselves, they'll be bold enough to, put some of those values and affect others in life. But it starts by having a positive example for them to lead by, something to instill in them, so they can carry on and bequeath to different generations. Not only their own kids, but the people around them, they can affect a lot of change.
It's really sad. It's sad that nobody feel like they got somebody else to go to, you know what I mean? Feel like you really alone in that, you know what I mean? It's like, what are you supposed to do at the end of the day? It just hurt because the kids are the one that suffer.
For me personally, I feel like what could be done to fix why us black men are lost starts in your own home. Starts with your own kids, whether they're your kids or they're adopted kids or they foster kids or your god. If you're just a baby daddy, so to speak, and you have kids here and there, to change the narrative of what happens in those kids' life so they can stop being lost, it starts with us raising these kids.
And co-parenting, it has to happen. We have to be cohesive. We have to work together. Whether you get along or like each other in front of the kids, you should always like each other. You shouldn't be saying nothing bad about the father, or the mother shouldn't be saying nothing bad about the father. The father shouldn't be saying nothing bad about the mother.
If you look up the definition of lost, you can always find your way back. So people that's lost don't have to stay lost forever. You can find your way back to what you need to do.
That's why we got to continue to be good brothers, stay strong, continue to unite with one another. I shouldn't have a problem with this man. That's my brother. If anything, as men, we're going to talk this situation out. We're not going to take it to the streets. We don't have to take it to the guns or anything of that nature. That's why we're so intelligent, because we can sit down and have a round table and actually discuss what's going on. What your problem is with me, what my problem is with you, and we can come to a head and knock that situation out. And then we can continue to move forward into this thing called life, this progression, to show them that we're stronger than what they are. We're stronger than what they perceive.
My objective for Lost Kingz is to show young men that grew up like me, grew up with not having a great relationship with my father and being raised by nobody but my mother and God, showing them that they can have a purpose, they can have a life outside of having abandonment issues with not knowing their father. Sometimes it hurts, sometimes you can live with it for the rest of your life, but making them go the opposite direction or blaming that lost king for the rest of your life is not good for the body, for the soul, and for the mind. So getting them out of that funk to say, oh I didn't do this, or I didn't want to do that because my dad was not there. We can't use that as an excuse no more. We got to move past that. We got to move forward from that. So my objective is to show these young men that you got to move forward from that. You got to move forward from that. You can't dwell in that hurt for all your life, because eventually your kids that you're going to have control and reign over their life and how they grow up, they're going to be affected by how you grew up. So to stop the generational curse by just doing more, being more, and doing more for yourself, and understand that we all come from Lost Kingz. It's just the mind frame that you make it and where you want to move for.
It's beginning to become disrespectful when one appears to be conscious but still making unconscious statements. Lost Kingz. Saying they got the understanding, but they don't really understand it. And what's worse is they so set in their ways that nobody can fix it. And that's a sign of self-hatred, beloved, so that's self-inflicted. We should be about self-upliftment and self-enrichment, but instead, we self-destruct. We pointing fingers when we should be creating solutions. We holding rallies standing stagnant, but nobody is moving, so everybody is losing. No. Everybody is losing. You winning. Shit. At what? Stunting on the next man is your best plan? leaving your great grands with nothing but money. Lost Kingz. You know, we lost all memory. And if we ain't planting them seeds, them cultural jewels, then we just recreating the enemy. I'm ice grilling you, you ice grilling me. I'm still killing you, you still killing me. See, we lost things in a way that we may never get back. And we lost kings, so dropping that loss and be kings we may never get back.